What would it take to get each of the top quarterbacks in the draft? We can go through each one and see, like, you know, a lot of different Niner fans have different draft crushes, different guys they want the Niners to target. Let's talk about how realistic each one is, starting with Trevor Lawrence. That's just not realistic at all, right?
No chance. There is no chance that we're getting the number 1 pick. So that's not even worth talking about, in my opinion.
Real quick, is there any chance that Lawrence doesn't go number 1? Because now it seems like people are really liking Zach Wilson.
No. I don't think it's possible at all.
No. Okay.
No.
Now let's talk Zach Wilson. What would it take to get Zach Wilson?
So I'm going to assume that he's going to go number 2.
Yes.
Regardless of someone. If it's someone. Doesn't have to be someone. The Jets.
Right.
Whoever. So in order to get that second pick, we basically have to give up a first this year, a second this year, a third this year, and our first round pick next year to meet that,
or someone like Bosa or Kittle,
right.
Someone really painful to part with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Wilson to me,
so
I'm not a big fan of Wilson. So.
No, me neither. No, it's funny. You know, we were talking about Kellen Mond the other day, and you compared him physically to RG3, and I see that. When I step back and look at resumes, like what people have accomplished, Wilson reminds me of RG3. They move differently, but RG3 had a major surgery in college. He was at Baylor for a while. He never was really considered that super great until the last year when he went nuts and won the Heisman Trophy. He got drafted number 2 based on 1 season, essentially. And he does a lot of running. He wasn't that great at protecting himself. He got hurt and washed out. Zach Wilson, he was around. He was there in 2018. He was there in 2019. No one thought anything of him. And then all of a sudden, he has an awakening. He goes to Tom. Or he just had a little natural improvement, and his schedule got way easier because of the pandemic. And now he's Aaron Rodgers. He's Patrick Mahomes. Excuse me if I'm skeptical. If he could go back to BYU and do it one more season, I'd say, okay, I've seen enough. But I have a lot of questions about a guy who's going to go number 2 that the Niners would have to trade like someone seriously proven to get. Nah, I'll let someone else take that gamble. I'm not saying he won't work out, but I just have a ton of questions about Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I think the rebuttal to that is you want to see a quarterback improve, and at least he improved. And
no doubt.
He didn't regress.
No doubt.
And I think that there's an argument to be made that Lawrence actually did regress a little bit because he hit the scene on fire as a true freshman. He could do no wrong. Everybody under the sun thought that guy was going to be a no-brainer, Hall of Famer, possibly top 10 ever as a freshman in college. And
people
now
like,
I think some of the buzz
he should sit out 2 years so he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
He's shown enough.
Yeah. And now he's taken a bit of a slide back. I still think he's the number 1 pick, but he's not as surefire as what he was as a freshman.
That being said, you compare his resume to freaking Zach Wilson's.
Oh,
there's no comparison.
You're right. Yes.
And again, like people who love Zach Wilson, can you please explain to me how that dude had 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions just in 2019? Just like a year and a half. How did that happen?
Yeah, but Grant, what about his rushing touchdowns?
People comparing to like Aaron Rodgers, like Aaron Rodgers wasn't a freaking baller his first year at Cal. I was there. I was in high school. I went to the games. He was amazing, and he beat USC. I'm sorry. That was a different – I was number 1 ranked USC. I know Zach Wilson beat USC too. It's different. All right.
Very different.
So number 3 guy, it's starting to look like Mac Jones. I'm just going to go by Mac Jones. What do you think? Where's he going to go?
So if he's the number 3 guy, I think the next quarterback's probably going to be taken at number 4. Okay. And so in order for us to get up to number 4, it's going to take a first and a second next year.
Oh. For Mac Jones.
For Mac Jones.
I'll pass.
That's a hard pass.
I'll pass. Best case, he's Kirk Cousins. Don't miss me with the Tom Brady comparison. I'm sorry, that's rich.
No.
Don't compare someone to the greatest quarterback of all time. It's not, and he's not. No, he's not. He's not. So Kirk Cousins trading up to number 4. No. If the Falcons want to take him, good luck. But yeah, I mean, if Mac Jones falls to 12, I could see the Niners doing it, and I wouldn't really be very excited about it, but maybe it would work out. I mean, yeah, if they could go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm not putting anything past Kyle Shanahan. But yeah, trading up to 4, I would rip that move. That's a no-go.
Let me throw something out to you because I think that regardless of who you like, there may be some people in the chat, and I can't see it, but there may be some people in the chat that are saying, well, I love Mac Jones. If we can get Mac Jones, I'm all about it. Or I love Zach Wilson. If we can get Zach Wilson, I'm all whoever the quarterback is, insert their name, and there are 49er fans that want them, and they're willing to make these moves. I did an analysis. I took 23 drafts from 1997 to 2019. And out of those drafts, 3 or more starters came out of those drafts 7 times. 7 times. We think that there's 4 guys that are going to go in the top 10.
Yes.
But only 7 times in the last 23 years, 3 or more starters have made it to year 5 as a starter.
That's right.
Per draft.
And that means basically 2 is the average, right?
Right. 2 is the average.
2 is the average.
2 or more franchise QBs came out of a draft 4 times in 23 years.
Okay.
And 1 or less starting caliber quarterbacks came out of a draft 10 times out of 23 years. So it is more likely that we are going to have a draft where only 1 quarterback is starter worthy than it is likely that 3 of these guys are going to be starters in 5 years.
Right. So it's like if your stance was, I like Trevor Lawrence and I don't really like any of the other quarterbacks, that's probably more realistic.
Yes.
That's probably a very realistic stance. I like Trevor Lawrence and not really anyone else. And if someone surprises me, God love him.
Yep.
Or you could say, I really like Trevor Lawrence and 1 other guy. If you're saying you like 3 or 4 or 5 guys, your odds are against you being correct.
Oh, big time they're against you.
And it's not just that a few of these guys are going to like underwhelm. Like they're going to be flat out freaking busts, like glorious busts.
Yeah.
Guys who get coaches fired, who get front office people fired. So
100%.
I don't know. I think that's why Zach Wilson scares me. I don't think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence because you could say like, well, his mechanics aren't the greatest. Or you know what? He was really good for 3 years in a row, and he won a national championship. I think there's less risk in that pick. He's pretty proven. He may not be a top 5 quarterback ever in his career, but I don't think he's going to be a flat out bust. Zach Wilson, Mr. 1 year, had a good year during the pandemic. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be freaking shit. Wouldn't be the first BYU quarterback. Mac Jones, Mr. looks exactly like CJ Beathard, but had a great season at Alabama. I mean, would you be shocked in a couple of years if they're like, hey, Mac Jones didn't work out? Oh, wow, the next Alabama quarterback who looked better in college than the NFL.
I honestly think that Mac Jones, as far as completely being run out of the league, the likelihood of that happening is not very high. But I think it's very likely that the upside of his career is a Ryan Fitzpatrick type of career where he's a career bridge quarterback. He comes in, he wins a lot of starting jobs for 1 year, and then he's shipped out somewhere else. I could see that being his career.
I think that's a pretty good comp. Because I do think he has a little bit stronger arm than Leinart. Ben, well, I'm going to come back to you. We're going to finish this, and then we're going to get to your questions. So hold tight, Ben. Okay, we got those 3. Let's not go to Mond yet. Let's go to Fields because he's still consensus higher pick than Mond. Fields, do you think Fields is going to drop to 12?
So I think he has too much upside, and he came from too big of a school. And Washington isn't there, so they're not going to be afraid to take him.
So do you think that Carolina might take him at 8?
Yeah, I could see that.
Carolina at 8. I mean, they had Cam Newton for all those years. This guy's very similar to Cam Newton. In fact, I got to say that's my comp, even though Cam was better.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Niners would have to move up to 8. That would cost them what? A second?
First and a third point value wise, but realistically, if it's a quarterback on the line, there's a chance we give up a first and a second to make it happen.
Meaning 12 and 43?
Yeah.
12 and 43. I think it would probably be 12 and 43 to move up for Justin Fields, who, in my opinion, is not a great fit for what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. He's like a young Cam Newton in the sense that you want to give him like a 7-step drop. He can let guys run down the field and throw deep passes because he's not precise. He doesn't make quick reads. He's just not a very polished quarterback, but he does physically difficult things. He throws downfield, he runs, he can protect himself. That's how Carolina structured their offense with Cam for years. They didn't ask him to be like a super precise. Like, he didn't ask him to be Drew Brees.
No.
They were just like, dude, drop back, throw deep, and if it ain't there, run. I think Justin Fields could do that offense. I just know Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to structure his offense that way.
Yeah. Shanahan does not want to structure his offense that way. I don't think he'll be as much of a disaster to San Francisco and Shanahan as Lance would be. I think that's out of all the quarterbacks, he may have the most upside, but he is the biggest absolute disaster pairing with Shanahan out of all of these quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Well, do you think he'll be there at 12? I do.
I think he will be. I actually think that he may slip all the way to, I don't think he gets past 19 if Washington's there. I do not think he makes it past that, but I could see him there at 12 for sure.
What do you not like about Trey Lance?
Everything that has to do with passing. I mean, he actually, Jack was on my show and he made a perfect comp because I said that he reminded me more of Cam than Fields did just because he's more willing to run over people in the open field. But he made a great comp, and that's Tim Tebow. I thought that was a great comp because he has a little bit of a hitch in his throw. Great college quarterback. Runs, very mobile, will run people over. But, gosh, he's the guy that has the biggest chance to be ran out of the league in 4 years.
See, the more I think about it, the more I feel like Fields has the chance to be the guy. And what Sim said about the arm mechanics, how the arm is floppy, how he's not a good short thrower, that scares me. That, to me, is a guy who's going to have a very low completion percentage in the NFL because he's going to be limited to intermediate and deep. With Lance, what Sim said, and I see it to a degree, he's a better short thrower. He seems to be more accurate, and I think the numbers bear that out on the quick stuff on the inside 10 yards, which doesn't sound that exciting. But if you can't throw that, if you're Justin Fields and you're erratic on the short stuff, that's a problem. That's what Dwayne Haskins is. That's what Cardale Jones is. That's why a lot of the Ohio State quarterbacks flat out wash out of the league. Trey Lance is a project, and he's going to take years because he doesn't have the reps. But if Sims is correct that his mechanics are a little bit better and he might have a little bit more of a controlled, tighter stroke, he's got a chance. But I wouldn't take him in round one. My God. No, he's a project. But the throwing mechanic thing is interesting, and I hadn't looked at it that closely. And Chris Sims is a quarterback. If that's the case, if he does have a tighter motion, a more repeatable motion, he's got a chance. But it's going to take years.
Yeah, it's going to take years. And Lance is a true one-read quarterback.
Oh, yes. No question. I mean, yes. There is just nothing. Yep, absolutely. Well, two more guys. Mond and Trask. Start with Mond. Where do you think he's going to end up going? Now that Sims is talking about him, he said he thinks he's going to be a first-round pick. I think he's a better prospect than Jordan Love was. Where do you think he's going to go?
I don't disagree with that. I still stand by my thing that Trask is more likely to go round one just because I think that Pittsburgh's looking for a replacement for Ben. This is clearly his last year. They just restructured to keep him. Yeah. So I think that's an option. And I also think Atlanta, being as early as they are in round two, being able to trade up at the end of round one to get that fifth-year option, a la Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, I could see that happening as well, just because he's a perfect replacement for both Ben and Matt Ryan. So I think that Trask actually might go round one more than I think Mond will. Whether you think Mond's a better quarterback or prospect, I know that you're on the Mond train. I'm obviously on the Trask train.
I like them both. I really like Trask. I like Trask better than Mac Jones, and to me, it's clear. And I don't understand why no one sees that. It's strange to me. No one talks about Trask at all. It's so strange. I think, to me, I'm not sure where he's going to go, but I think the Niners might be able to get Trask with the 43rd pick. Guy's got no buzz. No one talks about him. There's a lot of time left. But until someone says something about him, I'm thinking the Niners can get him at 43. Mond, on the other hand, I'm not sure because he had a great Senior Bowl. That helps. Now he has Sims talking him up. And when you compare him quarterback to quarterback, I mean, you put him head-to-head against Mac Jones, who's getting top 10. I mean, he's got a better arm than Mac Jones. He's more athletic than Mac Jones. He's got more starts under his belt than Mac Jones. Yeah. I think it's possible that he won't fall any further than, say, New Orleans at 28. I mean, they throw a lot of short passes and slants as well, and he's money on those short passes. He's got a real quick release. I mean, you heard what Chris Sims said about that. So I think to get him, the Niners could trade down or they could trade up. but they'll have to maneuver a little bit. I don't know if he'll just fall to them at 43 the way they might have anticipated he would.
I think trading down is more likely. I don't think we want to give assets up. If we can gain assets and get them, that's the way to do it. Giving assets to move back up, I think, is the wrong way to go about it.
That's smart. Trade down from 12 to whatever and get an offensive lineman and a quarterback, or a corner and a quarterback, something like that.
Let's say the field is falling exactly like I said, where Lance is there. Washington's really the only other team that absolutely needs a quarterback for this year. Trade up in front of Washington and get the guy that you like, whether it's Lance, Mon, Trask, whoever.
Yeah.
And then that way you can get your guy, ensure that you have him, and then you pick up some assets by doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Ben Meyerson has a suggestion for the ideal offseason. Sign Verrett, David Andrews, Ngakoue, Darby. Trade up for Sewell. Draft cornerback round 2, wide receiver round 3. Post Jude 1 trade for Watson and trade Armstead. Is it possible? Can it be done?
I don't know how we trade up for Sewell without giving that round 2 pickup. That's my only issue with that.
Yeah, you'd have to trade up pretty far to get up to pick 5 for Sewell, and that would take a lot. I'm sure Ben Meyerson's thought it through because he knows what he's doing. But Ben, you're going to have to come on the Cohn phone and explain that one on Saturday because I love Verrett. I love Andrews. I love Ngakoue. Darby's good. I mean, Sewell's fantastic. You got to have to lay out the whole thing, how it works. And getting rid of Armstead is like Christmas morning. Can that all be so simple? Maybe. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm impressed, Ben. I like the homework. Let's talk about it on Saturday and see what else you got up your sleeve. There was one more. Hold on.
If that happened, by the way, I'd be happy. I think that's a great offseason plan. I just don't know how we just talked about trading up to get the quarterback. So whether it's a quarterback, an offensive lineman, corner, whatever you want, in order to get up there, you're going to have to give up that second rounder.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate you, Adam Garcia. Hopefully Mike McGlinchey starts changing his production. Nothing I've done so far has helped. It seemed to have an effect with Dante Pettis. I don't know. Maybe it didn't.
Did you say Mike McFlinchy?
Mike McFlinchy. I like that.